on the testifier's end. In the event of a catastrophic network failure, it may be necessary to reschedule the hearing or schedule a meeting for decision-making. In that case, an appropriate notice will be posted. Lastly, please refrain from profanity or uncivil behavior. Such behavior may be grounds for removal from hearing without the ability to rejoin. All right, now that's out the way. We will move on to our first measure, HB 1449, relating to Juneteenth Day. And our first testifier that indicated they will be here to testify on Zoom is Common Cause Hawaii, Sandy Ma. Sandy Ma here? Okay. Seeing she is not here, we're gonna move on to Randy Pereira from HGEA.
Hi, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Michelle Kurihara-Klein on behalf of our Executive Director, Randy Pereira, and the Hawaii Government Employees Association. We'll stand on our written testimony in support of the measure, and I'm available to answer any questions that you or the committee may have. Thank you.
Mahalo for being here. Thank you for your testimony. We're gonna go ahead. I think that is all testifiers that indicated they will be here on Zoom to testify. Is there anyone else on Zoom wishing to testify on HB 1449? You see someone?
Hello, Mr. Chair. This is Kainoa Kaumihi Eva Rego testifying on behalf of Common Cause Hawaii. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes. Mahalo for being here. Good night.
Excellent. Mahalo nui. Kalamai, Sandy wasn't able to come out of the hearings that she's currently here in, but I'm here just to let you know we stand on our testimony in support of House Bill 1449. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Okay, members, that's it. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Last call on HB 1449. Seeing none. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Rep Ward. Go ahead, Rep Ward, you're recognized.
Am I on now?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. The testimony by Budget and Finance, they didn't come in person. Can I ask a question about what's the implied costs of the holiday? Does anyone on this call or in the sound of my voice know what the implication is when we take a day off? Or Chair, do you know what it costs the government to shut down for a day?
I believe it's not in any of the testimony. That
it's implied. The Budget and Finance kind of, they go up to the edge, but they never really say what it is. It says it's going to add money, but it doesn't say how much. I just wanted to find out how much. If not, okay, I guess I don't get the question answered. Thank you for the opportunity to at least ask it.
No problem. Thank you, Rep Ward. Any other questions, members? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move on to our next measure, HB 2253, relating to international sister state relations. We have one testifier that has indicated they will be in attendance to testify, and that is DBED, Dennis Ling. Are you here?
Aloha, Chair Gates, Vice Chair, members of the committee. DBED stands on its written testimony in support of this measure, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you for being here to testify. Do we have anyone else wishing to testify on Zoom on HB 2253? Okay, seeing none. Members, any questions?
Chair, I have a question to Mr. Ling.
Okay, go ahead, Rep Ward.
Dennis, thank you for the good job you've done ushering in. What do we have? Maybe 50 sister state or sister province, sister city. The numbers look good. It spreads aloha and understanding, puts us on the map, etc. The question is, do you still have the funds by which some of these sister state relationships can rely upon? I don't see any numbers. What is the amount asked for in this particular bill? Do you have an estimate? And you are lip syncing something, but I can't hear you.
You're still muted, Dennis.
I believe the estimate is $200,000.
And that's primarily going to be to do what?
That will primarily be to, once hopefully the pandemic is over, we will let the world know through our sister states that Hawaii is open for business, that we are here, that we can continue our export promotion, welcome visitors, as well as look at foreign direct investment. We would like to hold conferences, meetings in Hawaii amongst our sister states, also do missions overseas, and to let the world know that we are here.
That's an excellent response, particularly getting all the sister state people in Hawaii together to compare what they're doing. Would that include the sister state with Bali, Indonesia?
Definitely, we are looking at hopefully getting something together with Bali.
Mr. Chair, that was what my office did a couple of years ago with Mr. Link. Otherwise, it sounds good, Dennis. Thank you so much for what you guys do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Rep. Ward. Thank you, Mr. Link, for answering those questions. Any other questions, members? Anyone on Zoom? Members on Zoom have any questions? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to move on to our next measure, HB 2449, relating to the Hawaii State Archives. First person that indicated they will be here to testify is Dags.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I am Dr. Adam Jansen, and I have the honor of serving as State Archivist and Administrator of the Public Archives. Unfortunately, State Comptroller is currently tied up in another meeting, so you're stuck with me. We stand on our testimony in support of this bill, and I just wanted to add, we need this. The pandemic has shown us how important our records are. We are the only memory institution that has stayed open throughout the pandemic, with the small exception of the mandated stay-at-home order that Governor issued. The next day we opened up and we had a line out the door. We had a 2-hour wait for people to get in and connect with their documentary heritage. Public records must be public. And that means no matter where you live, you should have equal access. Economy, your job, your ability to travel should not impact your ability to get the records of your government and your people. And this bill will help us get back to close to where we were in the mid-90s. We had 29 FTE and we had far less records, far less contact, and we didn't even address digital. We now have the largest collection of Hawaiian rare books in the world, the largest Hawaiian music collection in the world, the largest photo collection on island. All of this acquired since that time we had 29 FTE, yet my staff is now 15. We cannot continue to service the public and grow the way we need to with our current staffing. And we're full. This building was designed over 70 years ago. And we need to do something to continue to prioritize preserving our history. And so I thank you for your consideration of this bill and welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you. Really appreciate you being here to testify and show how urgent this bill is and needed for the public. So I appreciate it. I believe we do not have anyone else other than Dags testifying on this measure. Is there anyone else on Zoom wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none. Members, any questions?
Chair, I have a brief question.
Okay, Rep. Ward, go ahead.
Dr. Adams, thank you for that very fluent presentation. As a pinch hitter, you did a good job.
Thank you.
Are you still in the Kalaimoku building? You mentioned the building and it's 75 years old. Which building is it? Is it Kalaimoku?
It's Kekaluohi, which is on Iolani Palace grounds. We are behind the old archives building, which we outgrew, and now we've outgrown this building.
And you're not in the flood. I know some of the records were threatened because they're in the flood zone. Does that include your records in your department?
Technically, we are outside the flood zone, and in addition, our storage area is 12 feet above water. I would welcome and encourage all of the members of this committee that are interested, please come and see the archives. I would be happy to give you a personal behind the scenes tour.
You're only 12 feet above water.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like too much of a buffer, actually.
It's difficult.
Okay, hopefully things will be better with this bill. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for Dr. Adam. Is there alternate storage sites other than what you guys currently have right now?
For digital, yes, but for physical, no. And
Okay.
and the preference on our side has always been to stay within the capital district, because two of our largest constituents are the legislature and your staff doing bill research. We hold all of the legislation back to 1840, and then also the Attorney General's office. There has been some talk through the years of moving us out to Kapolei, but getting the public there is extraordinarily difficult. And particularly if this bill goes through, we have the opportunity to showcase Hawaii's history through the words of the people who shaped it. So part of the intention is to have display space along the lines of what the National Archives has in the public vaults, so that Keiki can come and see one of the only documents signed by Kamehameha I, and be able to connect with their heritage in a way that very, very few other institutions can provide. And so our preference is to stay in this area, but recognize the impacts of global warming and prepare against that in a way that we can preserve these records.
And have you guys looked at any other state facilities that may be available, that may have space to be able to expand your guys' operations to?
The difficulty is the unique requirements of archival preservation. And what that entails is a very stable temperature and humidity environment, and also mass storage. So what we need is a very large box with thick walls, no windows, no doors, and top of the line air conditioning. And this is the only facility that can handle that. Anything else would require massive retrofit. And if we were to break the collection apart, that is difficult when it comes to research, because the files you're going to need are invariably going to be partially here and partially over there. And so the typical practice is to try to not break up collections, because it does make it very difficult for researchers to do what they need to do if it touches more than one specific subject.
Got it. And so the funding that would be provided in this piece of legislation, you folks would build a brand new building. Is that the goal?
The goal is to initially look at expanding our current facility on Iolani Palace grounds. There is space out the back of the building that we could effectively double the square footage and be able to then reconfigure the ground floor here so that we could have, something crazy, a classroom, so that we could help educate, bring elementary and high school students in to share in a curated way some of these pieces and get them excited about their history, and understand that just because you read it on the internet, it's not true. The other issue that provides us is the opportunity then to reskin this building like the old Haleakala building in Kalakawa's time, which was on palace grounds. The legislature has recognized through resolutions that our building doesn't fit architecturally. So even if we were to vacate this, what happens to this structure that's exclusively designed for archival use? So our strong preference is to use what we have and see how we can expand it to meet not only our needs, but more importantly, the public's needs as we go into the 21st century.
Okay, lastly, say all your wishes are granted, everything goes through. How long will this new storage archive be available for storage if, say, in the next 20 years, I can imagine you guys are receiving a lot more documents and a lot of more artifacts, stuff like that. So how long do you think that this new building will last or fill up moving forward?
And I appreciate that question because Kanaina was where we started in 1905. The extension was 1930. This building was 1950. The estimation is we're going to be doubling our storage capacity. And since we've lasted this time with this capacity in 70 years, given the shift to digital, we think this may be it as far as physical storage. Everything moving forward in another, 10, 20 years, they keep saying digital's here. We will actually start to see that. People will not be printing things out. They will not be signing things physically. We really feel pretty strongly that this could be it. And so we want to be able to prepare for that, to have digital learning labs, classroom space, so that they can come and people without perhaps high-speed internet and technology can do their research here.
Right on. Well, we appreciate your wealth of knowledge and for attending this hearing to give us insight to what archives are dealing with right now. And we appreciate you taking
Sure,
the time.
can I follow up from your questioning, Chair?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Two very quick points. Being that you're 50% of your 29 FTEs, and we're talking about a building, is the building more important than getting you up to staff, or are you going to do one at a time and then not give up the staff? And then secondly, are you going to harden it toward what you said in terms of climate change and the endangerment of your artifacts?
Thank you. The intention is yes. I would, again, encourage you to come visit. Our building is very unique in its style. We have 15-inch thick concrete walls. So we're much stronger than any other typical state office building because of the floor loads that they anticipated with all of this paper. So from a hardening perspective, this is probably one of the strongest buildings in Honolulu. And the intention is to continue that concept so that the ground floor and the basement is all of those things that if anything happened, we can replace those. Computers, library books, supplies, processing space, everything of permanent nature, again, goes up 12 feet above ground level in a structure that is extraordinarily thick and heavy, no windows, no doors. And that's also advantageous in this climate because it helps us be green. There aren't intrusion spaces for the climate to get in. And it will also give us an opportunity then to also look at our roof to say, can we do solar panels, rooftop gardens? What can we do to help cool the building as well? So the intention is really to make this as best we can to be able to provide, but also protect. Protect first, provide second. And regarding the staff, we see this as a dual track. The extension is built into the back of the building ideally. Once that's complete, we move all of the current holdings over there and then renovate the front half to better suit public accessibility.
Thank you, and let my office know when the guided tours begin.
Anytime you want. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We're gonna go ahead and move on to any other questions, members? Just double checking. I know a report came in last second. Okay, seeing no other questions, we're gonna move on to HB 2475 relating to state holidays. First testifier we have is Common Cause.
Kalamai, Mr. Chair. Mahalo nui loa kainoa kamahiwa rego on behalf of Common Cause Hawaii. Mahalo for this opportunity to provide comments. Common Cause Hawaii recommends that Election Day be kept as a state holiday. The crux of our concern is grounded in our desire to ensure that there will not be any issue or difficulty with locating voter service centers on government facilities, especially for General Election Tuesday, if Election Day is removed as a state holiday. Our concern, again, is grounded in any sort of disruption for government operations. If you have any questions about our testimony, please let me know. Otherwise, mahalo nui loa for this opportunity.
Mahalo for your testimony. Next testifier we have is HGEA.
Good morning again, Chair and Vice Chair, members of the committee. Michelle Kurihara-Klein on behalf of the Hawaii Government Employees Association. You have our written testimony before you, and we'll stand on that testimony in support of the measure. Thank you.
Mahalo. Thank you for testimony. Do we have anyone else on Zoom wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and move to questions, members. Any questions? Any questions for any of the members on Zoom? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next measure on the agenda, HB 2491, relating to the Hawaiian language. First testifier we have is Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Good morning, Chair Gates, Vice
Good
Chair
morning.
Tam, and members of the committee. My name is Arthur Buta. I'm with the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development. We stand on our testimony offering comments, adding some language referencing the Hawaii State Board on Geographic Names.
Mahalo for your testimony. Next, we have Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Patrick McCain, and the Department of Transportation supports this measure, and we're standing on our testimony. Thank you very much.
Mahalo for being here. Thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom wishing to testify on this measure, HB 2491? Seeing none, members, any questions? Any questions for members on Zoom? Seeing none, we are going to move on to our last measure on our agenda, HB 2347, relating to capital improvement projects for the state archives. First testifier we have is Department of Accounting and General Services.
I see the state comptroller is on.
Oh, okay. Hello, Kurt.
Hi, Chair. Sorry for my tardiness, but I'll let Dr. Jensen testify. He's more than
Okay.
qualified to do so. Thank you, Chair.
No problem. Thank you for being here.
And once again, thank you for the opportunity to testify on this bill. This is a related but separate initiative of trying to figure out what does the archives need to do over the next 50 years? How do we better engage with the public so that we can increase trust in government, transparency of records, and preserving their heritage, particularly in the underrepresented minority groups of all kinds in Hawaii, to make sure that their records are being preserved and accessible. And so this will help us create a master plan on where do we go and how do we address those concerns. Thank you.
Mahalo. Thank you. I believe that was the only testifier that indicated they will be here on Zoom. Anyone else on Zoom wishing to testify on HB 2347? Okay, seeing none. Questions, members?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, Rep Ward?
Dr. Adam,
Sir,
you want to do a master plan and you want $1 million? Are you going to farm this thing out? Or are you going to have it guys who are inside and knowable? Or why $1 million to know where you guys think what you said? You already know where you want to go.
exactly. And I thank you for that question. Again, this is a slightly different initiative that was actually started several years ago that we've been trying to get through the legislature. So in an ideal world, we get HB 2449 approved and signed off, and some of that CIP and the building funds can be used to also address the master plan. But knowing how rarely bills of that nature make it through the first time, should it not be able to succeed, this is going to be our, I think, third or fourth go around at trying to at least have something in place to realize the building's full. When this structure was built, the most advanced piece of technology it had was a typewriter. we're just not able to address digital concerns of any nature. We're overloading the electrical in this building. So again, if for some reason 2449 doesn't go through, which we hope it will, we at least need to continue moving forward so that we know exactly what, where, and what services and facilities do the public and our stakeholders in government need us to provide to make sure we're meeting their needs in this new digital domain.
I appreciate your strategic transparency, but in terms of brick and mortar, the other bill 2449, I mean, when you put in 720,000, you're not going to get more than maybe a carport versus this is $1 million and it's a study or a master plan.
Correct.
I think you could combine the two of them and make it look like, anything that's $1 million or less than $1 million is not too much of a CIP. But you guys know what you're doing, but keep up the persistence and eventually it'll come. But it just looks a little funny the way you've named the $1 million as a master plan.
And I understand. I appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Board. I have a quick question. Is the state budget in terms of general funds, is that the only source of revenue for archives?
Predominantly, our funding comes through the general fund. We do get a very small amount of income through services we provide, such as reproduction certified orders. That's for the physical side, the paper photographs side of things. We also do have a special fund where we have a $1 service charge on all publicly recorded documents, because those are all now digital. That goes into our digital archives special fund to help pay for the online access. Our digital archives now has well north of, I think we're approaching 4 million records online, including we just put up our Kalopapa index. So we know of all 15,000 people who were at Kalopapa between 1880 and 1929. We put up 24,000 pages that we digitized of Queen Liliuokalani's manuscript collection. So all the digital side of things is handled through the special fund, but that is relatively small for the vast amount of digital corpora that we have to collect.
Got it. I appreciate that feedback. I think that definitely helps us understand your guys' needs a little bit better. And I'm definitely in support of it, and we will hopefully schedule a tour where our committee can come and visit you folks.
Please, absolutely.
Yes, thank you for being here. Any other questions from members? Okay, seeing none. With that being said, that will conclude the 10:30 a.m. agenda, and we will recess for decision making at 11:30 a.m. Mahalo, everyone. Thank you. Recess. Okay, we're back reconvening our 10:30 a.m. agenda. We will start with HB 1449 for decision making. So the chair's recommendation is to pass out as an HD1, adding an amendment to defect the date to 2044. Any questions, members?
Chair?
Go ahead.
Just a brief comment. I think we need to, as your agenda indicates, to have more holidays for the host culture before we fill it up with others and then they say there's too many. So just with reservations, footnote. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 1449, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendments. Vice Chair votes aye. Chair?
Aye.
Rep Har?
Aye.
Rep Capella?
Aye.
Rep Nishimoto?
Aye.
Rep Yamane?
Aye.
Rep Ward with reservations, correct?
Yes, thank you.
Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Moving on to HB 2253. Chair's recommendation is to pass out as an HD1, defecting the date. We'd also like to include in the committee report an appropriation request of $200,000. Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 2253, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Noting all members present, anyone with reservations? Any no votes? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to HB 2449. Chair's recommendation is to pass out as an HD1, defecting the date, blanking out the appropriation amounts, which will include in the committee report, and making technical amendments needed for clarity, consistency, and style. Any questions, members? Concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 2449, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting all members present, anyone with reservations. Any noes? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to HB 2475. This definitely is a touchy subject for some members, as I discussed with them, because of the removal of Election Day as a state holiday. I did speak with the author of the measure today as well, and we agreed on restoring back Election Day as a state holiday. So Chair's recommendation is going to be to pass out as a HD1, defecting the date, as well as restoring elections as a state holiday and creating a state day of observance or commemoration for Laho'i Ho'i'ea, and technical amendments needed for clarity, consistency, and style. Any questions, members?
Question, Chair?
Go ahead,
The-
Rep. Ward.
The Restoration Day then is a day off, or just, you said a day of reflection? I didn't catch the essence of what you said.
So instead of taking away Election Day as a state holiday, we're restoring that, and then we're going to make Laho'i Ho'i'ea a state of observance and commemoration.
And what that means is?
That it's not going to be a holiday.
Oh, okay, but it's like a
Yeah,
proclamation.
recognition. Yeah,
Okay, got it. Thank you.
no problem. Okay, members, any other questions? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 2475, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendments, noting all members present, anyone with reservations. Any noes? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to HB 2491. Chair's recommendation is to pass this out as a HD1 with amendments, directing the University of Hawaii to report to the legislature with compile a full list of dialects and other variations of the Native Hawaiian language. In Section 3, paragraphs 4 and 5, we will add in provisions that specify that this will apply to the particular community that the common dictionary or dialect is used. We will also be making technical amendments needed for clarity, consistency, and style, and defecting the date to 2044. Any questions, members?
Chair,
Rep. Ward?
how about an added amendment where there's free Hawaiian language training online? I know that that's spur of the moment, but we need to get more language out there. Language is the root to the culture. And unless we get the language participation up, these are good, symbolic, but we need to have it where people are actually olelo and speaking it. Anyways, that's something that I think is important. If there's any way to put it maybe down the line, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair will take that into consideration. Appreciate the input. Any other questions, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 2491, Chair's recommendation is passed with amendments, noting all members present, anyone with reservations. Any no votes? Chair recommendation is adopted.
Okay, members, last agenda item, HB 2347. Chair's recommendation is to pass out as a HD1. We're gonna amend the date to defect 2044, as well as blanking out the appropriation amounts, which will be included in the committee report. Also, making technical amendments needed for clarity, consistency, and style. Any questions, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on House Bill 2347, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting all members present, any reservations? Any noes? Chair recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Hearing and adjourned.